Good afternoon, Ngozi Talk Shows family. It's Namsa here at Ngozi Talk Shows. Find your own voice, lead from within. With me today, I've got Kamal Ema and Dr. Bigetan and Carol Ann Cooper. And our topic today is how to navigate codependence and love. And happy Valentine's Day, by the way, everyone around the world. We're spreading love today. So to navigate co-independence and love is very, very important to set boundaries and prioritize your own needs and well-being. And also communications and self-reflection are the key as well, and seeking support from a therapist or any support group. It's also important to recognize that love should enhance your life, not to be the sole focus of it. So somebody chose this topic, which was Carol Ann, and I would love to hear from her, and I'm sure our audience will love to hear from her why she chose this topic. And Carol Ann, happy Valentine's Day. Please take the stage.
Thank you. I was just going to say that, Kamal. Yes, it's flashed up. The title is different to what we're talking about. But how to navigate codependency and love is what we're talking about today. And the reason that I chose this topic was it came from, I heard about codependency and sort of started looking at the fact that it's where you can become, where you lose your sense of self beyond the relationship. And that just sort of, it sang to me. It was like, oh my goodness, that picture of me being someone beyond the relationship actually had me realize how codependent I was in my marriage. It was not a word I knew then or even thought about this concept. So I thought, oh, this is something to like to look at. And then I was looking for just opening a book the other day and just found something about love. And I just thought, oh, love, because today is Valentine's Day, it's about love. Is codependency love? Was the question that came to my mind, because sometimes we do things out of what we think is love. So love or codependency? How do you tell? How do you navigate between the two? So that's how the topic came about. So love to hear others' thoughts and about it as well, because yeah, codependency is not true love, and it is something that can destroy your relationship and destroy you as a person. So who would like to? Dr. Brigitte?
I love that. Thank you so much, Carol, and happy Valentine's Day, everyone. If you are watching this, hearing this, and you celebrate Valentine's Day, is how to navigate codependency and love. And I love your questions. Is codependency is love? And that make me think about a book many people are familiar about, called The Course in Miracle. And The Course in Miracle says that every actions, whether it's a small actions or a large actions, a form of behavior, is either a call for love or an expression of love. Every action is either a call for love or an expression of love. And some people say, how could that be? What about if somebody say being codependent, or somebody go robbing a bank? Well, usually the person robbing a bank, most people don't go rob a bank or rob a store just out of entertainment, so to say. But most people do that because of love. might not be expressed in the way that the majority of people in society prefer, but it doesn't say about that. It just simply says it's a call for love or an expression of love. And the one that's robbing a bank, as hard as it is for some of us to swallow, it could be an expression of love. If somebody say at the end of their wit about finances and they have kids at home and they grew up in such a way they don't know any other way to earn income, they said, I'm just going to go rob a bank and hope for the best because I don't know. I'm at ends with, and I got kids that I love and to feed at home. And then that could be an expression of love. Again, we're not saying anything about whether it's our preference or not. And then it could also be a call for love. We know, being a grief specialist, I've met many people who call for love are such that because they are wounded, they are hurt. And sometimes, many times, this is a wound and pain from so long ago that in their conscious mind, they've forgotten it, because our body, our mind will help us forget things that we're not able to do anything at the moment to help us survive. That's a survival mechanisms. And so it's actually, but it's something where it's a call for love, but sometimes the one is saying, sometimes the one that wounded the most, the one that needed the most love, are the one who behave in such a way that it repels most love. And they might have grown up in such a way, they might have had such an experience that they just see society or something one way or the other in such a way, and and their actions is definitely, again, what most people not prefer, but it's actually a call for love. And so to me, at the end of the day, at the bottom line of everything, it is love. It's a call for love, including codependency. And it's asked why many people are codependent. Many people are codependent through codependency, where they are to the point. And again, back to what Karan says, why do we want to not be codependent? Because you can put yourself in a situations where it's hurting you, and sometimes it's hurting other people too. But through codependency, you're hurting yourself. For instance, you're in such a situation that you're hurting yourself or each other. Well, that's again at the bottom line of it is, it's typically a call for love, could be an expression of love, and even though it might not be in our conscious mind. So long answer for a quick question, isn't it? What do you think, Kamal?
Well, I'm going to say happy expensive gifts and roses and chocolates day. But happy Valentine's to all the lovers and the people that love themselves, first of all. Codependency, I think the best way to start off with that is defining what codependency is. And before we define that, I do agree with Caroline that it is an expression of love which is not articulated correctly, whether it's physiologically or psychologically. A codependent person is a person with low self-esteem, that doesn't trust themselves, a person that is afraid of abandonment, or has an obsessive need for approval from the rest of the world, or a loved one in particular. I mean, we can be codependent lovers, codependent relationships, but you can also be a codependent individual to society. Codependency and love is specifically the dependency on an unhealthy relationship at your own cost. And when a person in that way expresses that, one can easily say that, okay, well, where is that coming from? This comes from, any fear comes from something that happened to a person. Fear of abandonment, fear of being alone, lacking them, like I said, lacking self-esteem and self-trust causes a person with codependency to be stuck in a relationship, because that's how they feel they're okay, that they can trust themselves. It's not an easy thing to tackle, and you can fall into that codependency, especially when you're in a long relationship. It happens a lot to people that jump from one relationship to another, where because of their lack of trust in themselves and their lack of self-esteem, they jump from one relationship to the next without giving themselves a break, because they don't know how to be alone. They don't trust themselves to be alone enough. They don't have the self-esteem and the courage to push them through that time as a single person in order to explore the limits of themselves. So I'm agreeing with both of you on this matter about codependency. As for love, I'm sure a lot of people have read this book, and if you haven't, it's an interesting book, and it's a concept, the five love languages, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but it's a wonderful experience to read that book and understand what kind of love you have. Because if you are a codependent person, well, there might be a few things that will happen when you figure out what kind of love you want, that will help you, that will trigger that thought. And it is something that you can deal with alone if you have the courage, but it is also something that I definitely recommend you to go and seek help with, whether a psychologist or a coach that is specialized in codependency, because unfortunately we see it a lot, but we don't talk about it as much. Or nowadays it's been something prevalent. And speaking of love, speaking of Valentine's Day, are you in a codependent relationship? Are you loving that person because you want to feel love in return, but it's only one-sided? Are you in an abusive relationship and you feel you deserve it? Are you afraid to being left? Are you concerned that your partner will take the children and leave? All of these are signs of codependency. But what do you want to do for your life is the next question for somebody that has that or is in that situation. These are my thoughts anyway on the codependency and the love aspect for now. Nomsa?
I think I agree with you guys when you say, I think it's easy to get caught up in dependence relationships. It can start with small things like maybe somebody putting their spouse first above their needs, and then quickly it will get spiral out of control. So it's very unhealthy. And that's how I understand it. And also it can lead to resentment, jealousy, and ultimately to break down in that relationship. It is Valentine's Day, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. Like Kamal was saying, I hope you guys are not in codependence love relationship, because if you are, you have to check your relationship out and evaluate it. You don't put someone else's needs first, because in order for you to fulfill someone's needs, you have to fulfill your needs first. It's all about you putting you first. And if you stay in a relationship for the sake of staying, I think it can result to stress, it can result to anxiety. And love has a mutual respect and an understanding, and it's about being there for each other, saving your spouse, not taking from the other person, or believing that by giving more than you should, that person will love you and they're gonna stay with you, that becomes a fear. Love is freedom. When you love someone, you have to have freedom. Your relationship has to grow and thrive in that moment. Like right now is Valentine's Day. When everyone else is buying their present, celebrating, is your celebration just for one day, or do you celebrate the whole year, your relationship? So those are the things that you need to recognize. You need to recognize the signs, and set boundaries, set healthy boundaries as well in your relationship. Is very, very important. It's love is a beautiful experience. When you are in love with someone, it's a beautiful experience. Some people say there is no such thing as love, but love is there. It's all about you loving you and being able to share that love with somebody else. And also love is growth. When you're not growing with that person that you call spouse, that means it's no longer a beautiful thing anymore. So in order for it to be beautiful, you have to grow as a person. Your mindset has to be in the right place. But if your mindset is not there, that means it's just a mess. So you have to look at it. And I also like to find out from our viewers, if anyone is watching, what do you think codependence is in a relationship? Have you ever experienced times where you have to go all the way pleasing somebody else, thinking that they're going to love you more, and then you end up being disappointed? I really, really love to hear. If anyone is watching on Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook, please, and YouTube family, please just share with us and let us know. Over to you, Carol Ann.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, there's something Kamal said about when you figure out what type of love you want, you need to know what love is. It is about what do you think love is, and sometimes you can't actually recognize that you are in a codependent relationship, because maybe you think that what you're doing and the way you're being is what love is about. And so it's actually waking up to what is actually happening, because you need to understand what you're feeling. Do you actually feel fully comfortable within that relationship? Or are there little niggles that go, oh, I'm not that comfortable, and oh, I wish we didn't do that, or there's something that's not quite comfortable there? You need to listen to those niggles, because those niggles are telling you something. This isn't fully love that's here, because love doesn't give you little niggles that aren't comfortable. Love helps you to be fully comfortable with who you are and what you have to offer to the relationship and what you're expecting from that relationship, and be able to express that. And I know I didn't know what I really wanted from my relationship when I was married. I didn't have a clue what love was really. I didn't have a clue what being married was about either. And I don't know how many people do, but it's something that you learn or you play around with. And looking back, I realized how much I feared that relationship breaking down, because I couldn't see myself outside of that relationship. It was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do on my own? I need this relationship to live, to survive, or even to be happy. I just didn't think I could be happy. I thought I would be completely unhappy outside the relationship, and certainly didn't think I could survive. And it was like my whole life, or that relationship, it wove itself. Okay, I wanted to teach, and I knew that. I did become a teacher, so I had that focus. But other than that, there was nothing else really. My whole focus was around what my husband did, supporting him and his interests and his work, and the fact that he worked shifts and being able to support that, and what my children were doing as well, and supporting them. So my whole life revolved about that. And I really did lose sight of me and what I really wanted. And that's the red flag. If that is happening to you, then just stop. Go, oh, who am I in this relationship? What is it that I'm bringing to it? What am I getting from it? Because you are allowed to get something from the relationship, and be a demand for that, and stand up for what you want. And if you feel you can't, then that relationship's not in balance. There is no true love there. True love that's being properly expressed. So do get in touch with what's happening with yourself, and become aware of the niggles and what, what is it you want? And it was something, I think, Kamal, you said also, what do you want to do with your own life? It's a key question. And it all comes down to knowing yourself and what you want. And if you really don't know, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. But just sit in that inquiry and go, well, what dreams did I perhaps have that have been pushed down? What would I really love to do that I'm not doing right now? What have you stopped doing that you loved doing when you were younger? What dreams have you stopped having that you've pushed away and you stopped dreaming? And you've picked up on someone else's dreams and thought they're yours. Some great questions and inquiry to sit in. What do you think, Dr. Bashir?
I love what you said, Carol, and it's beautiful and wonderful questions. What is it that you want? And for some of us, as you imply earlier, in the codependent relationship, sometimes we actually feel that, well, what I want is to be able to survive, or what I want is for my children to be able to survive, which is actually an expression of love, and for your children or for yourself, definitely. And also, which Kamal mentions earlier, it is also a form of fear, and love, when it is not channeled correctly, and because of a lot of time we're not aware on what's going on or how to do things differently, can become fear. And then most people recognize it as Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross says that every action is either from love or fear. But many times that fear come actually from a need for love, a need for love, or an expression of love, but because you don't know how to accomplish it, otherwise it's become in any other way, become a fear. But whether we call it love or you call it fear, or what, one way or the other, if we're talking about codependency, sometimes for us, if we say, what do you want? When you're like, well, I want my children. And I grew up in a society where a lot of the women are not quite independent, unlike in this modern society. And nowadays here in the US or Western world, and they're like, well, I know what I want. I want my children to be well. I want my children to have the means to grow up. I want me to be able to survive. And therefore, I'm just going to be in here and in this situation. And live with it and suffer through it and so forth. Now, if that's what's going on with you, first of all, my heart goes to you. I can only imagine how some of the days feels to you. And also, actually, I want to say thank you if you are doing this because you say you're doing this for your children particularly, and you said, well, if I leave, whether it's the children, with some people, that children could be, we know that there are statistics showing that quite a few women stay in an abusive relationship, even like dangerously abusive relationship, because of their furry children, their pets, whether it's your so-called two-legged or four-legged children. First of all, my heart goes to you, and then thank you for trying to help them and to protect them. I can only imagine how hard the days at times for you it is. And at the same time, in this modern day and age, there are help. This group here can help you step by step. If you say, well, I don't know what I want, then there are coaches here, myself, I believe Kamal and many other coaches that can help you to go to discover what it is that you want. And if you want, what you want are to be able to be for your children and or yourself to be able to survive. There are also ways and means nowadays, even if you might not be able to see it on your own, but there are ways and means within your limitations, because there is a saying that you cannot see the whole pictures when you're the one in the picture. And somebody from outside with the proper training and proper skill might be able to see what you cannot see. And for some of us, we say, well, we're just going to suffer in there. But we know if you ever let me ask you, have you ever walked in a room and everybody quiet, nobody says a thing, but you kind of like feel something's not quite right? Like something's in the air with these people in here, and it's just not feeling good. Well, that's because what's going on in your heart exudes out. We have studies showing this. As a grief specialist, I use evidence-based system and method, and there's studies showing that what's going on in your heart. So if your heart is broken, it's actually afflicts. In other words, it changed the energy and the vibrations and the body so much so that it shows up in machine and tests of other people within the same room with you. So if you said, I'm going to sit here and take the beating for your children, for the sake of your children, and you're crying inside of your heart, even if you put on a smiling face on the outside for them, it will influence them. It is hurting them too, not just you being hurt. And so in that case, I would say that if you feel that you are in a situations where you can't see a way out, perhaps reach out. There are people to help you. I'm the country chair of something called G100 Global Networking. Even in there is a community of women, many times are company and actually leaders of countries who are happy to help you. But we wouldn't know if you need help. You got to reach out, as Kamal says earlier. So what's your thought now, Kamal?
I mean, there's so much has been said now. It's filling in the rest of the blanks is quite difficult at this stage. But let's come back to those points that we mentioned. What is love for you? How do you understand it? And the most important part is learning to love yourself. Caroline, even you, also Nomsa, you guys mentioned about love is growth. And this is something that is extremely important for me when I talk to my clients and they're in a relationship. people need to understand that growing together is the part of love. And when I'm saying growing together, it doesn't mean growing all together and being like pitiful against each other and like angry against each other, even though you've grown old together. You see many couples that grow old together and they just stay with each other, but they're spiteful. That's not growing together. One of the things that a lot of people that are in codependent relationships, they will notice that once they start working on themselves, once they start going to seminars for love, seminars for coaching, or going to see a psychologist or a coach, the other partner will be resentful. They will be angry. And these are triggers. These are signs for you who is trying to grow or is growing, to understand that you're in a codependent relationship. People that don't want to grow mentally together, there is something wrong in that relationship. There's a bond. Love happens at first sight. It happens because of the chemical reaction. It happens because of the chemistry that we have with each other. It happens because you're attracted to the person physically, mentally, everything together. And that sparkle, it dies out at some stage. It's not going to stay there forever. And yet there's a way for you to maintain that sparkle. It's by growing that mental state that you are in together. It's by inducing special days in the week and in the month for special occasions. You don't have to wait a whole year for a birthday or a Valentine's Day to offer just a rose or a simple gesture of affection. Things can be randomly done. They don't have to be like on a calendar. Oh, we only let's see, it's Sunday, okay, we're going to have sex today. It doesn't work like that. It's good to maintain something, but that becomes something routine. You have to find it within yourself to find those moments of I'm going to call them eureka, so that you embellish that relationship that you're in, whatever it may be. A rose, a fine gesture, a gift. Valentine's Day doesn't have to be one single day a year. A birthday doesn't have to be a birthday. Like I always say, I don't celebrate a birthday. I celebrate a birth month. Because one day to celebrate my whole experience for a whole year is not enough for me. That's self-love. And you should do that too, or should. It's your choice to do that with yourself if you want that. Now, in a codependent relationship, one will always pressure the other to not do what that other wants. If you want to start studying, the other partner will tell you, no, we don't have the economy for it. No, but I'll have a loan and all of that and nothing. No, but we need you to work as well so that we have more income, so that we can live the life that we have now. Well, it's okay to be living a little bit under the level that you are living for a few years until you get something that you want, your own education. It's okay to want to develop your mind, your academic skills, your future. In today's world, with today's economy, just having one certificate, one job that you're good at is not enough. My grandmother said, always have different outcomes, different outlets where you can earn money, not one single thing. And so the same thing applies to a relationship. Not that you go and seek another person. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in a relationship, you need to be able to communicate with each other in a way that helps you grow together and be understanding, be caring for one another. So yeah, these are my thoughts so far, I guess, with everything that we've said. Namsa?
Wow, I love what Dr. Biggett and Carol answered, and I love when you say, in this world you have to have me. I call it there's no plan B or plan A, only plan A that has to exist in my life. I think sometimes when people enter a relationship, they depend on each other, and that's not love. Love, you have to be independent. You have to put know your values and your needs is very, very important. And also know thyself. You have to know yourself. You have to know, you have to be clear about what do you really want or what do you need in that relationship and what is important to you, without putting somebody else's needs. I believe that when you actually put your needs first, and when you understand the meaning of love, what does love mean? Love means you enter the spirit of love and know yourself, know your world. Knowing your world, it means you know where you want to go on holiday, what kind of holidays you want to go. Like Kamal is talking about birthdays, how he actually translates his own birthday. What does his day mean? For me, I don't celebrate like loads of things, but I celebrate my birthday. To me, it's the day when I was born. It's so special, and it's so beautiful. But each and every day throughout of the year, to me, is a Valentine's Day. I don't wait for the 14th of February for somebody to buy me flowers. It's a Valentine's Day all year through. And I also communicate my boundaries very, very clear. You have to communicate your boundaries very clear to your spouse, and make sure they understand what you are comfortable and with what you are not. And also be assertive but respectful. And when you set boundaries, it is important to actually, some people, I call it principles, some people call it rules. For me, I have principles as well that I put, that if you are in my life, these are principles that are in place. And number one, I don't do drama. I believe that drama is for school kids, is for children. And as an adult, I'm 44 years now. And if I have wronged somebody, I believe that we can sit down and talk like adults. We can disagree. You are allowed to disagree with me because no one can agree with anybody. We are allowed to disagree. But at the same time, yesterday we were talking, me and Rachel, we had this topic talking about how to tap into yourself and your playfulness. And I think that playfulness as well is very, very important in a relationship. And when you learn how to be playful, not to take life too serious. Some people, the first year of their relationship is beautiful. They travel, they go out, they watch films together. And then the next second year is all about having children. Is all about the children, is all about the work, the promotion. Is exhausting. It's all about working hard. Never put yourself first, and that destroys relationships. So you have to, yes, make children. Yes, have children, but just learn to have fun. I was looking at my daughter today. She goes, Mommy, today we have to buy some pudding. I'm like, what are we buying pudding for? She goes, it's Valentine's Day, where everybody shares love. And I was like, seriously? She goes, oh yeah, we have. Honestly, she has to drag me to the shop to get some nice pudding. Apparently it's Valentine's Day. So I was like, oh, You know what? If adults could just, the way she was talking, she had passion. She was like, and I was like, this is so beautiful to just see children, how they express their feelings. And also be open to negotiations. You have to negotiate. Relationship involves give and take. And once you establish also your boundaries, it's important to stick to them and enforce them consistently, and also make sure you're growing in that relationship, and also communicate always. If you're not happy, communicate your want, to communicate your desires in a relationship. A relationship is not meant to be a prison. And also, don't use the diary to keep the records. Oh my goodness, couples, they keep the records. When somebody does a little mistake, it's like they don't keep it.
Nomsa died off.
Yeah. She's gone. She's frozen.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I'm just
don't
gonna say
keep
one
the
thing.
records.
Yeah, don't have kids. Don't have kids to have kids. Don't have kids. I love my kids.
When you love your children, that's what love is meant to be. It's meant to be beautiful. Even when you're fighting, fight with grace. Just fight with love. Enter somebody's world and just get to know them. Like Tony Robbins says, get to know them, get to know the things that makes them happy, get to know the things that why they love the things that they love. Martin, sometimes he plays games and he will come to me, he's so excited, he's explaining, I don't even understand what he's talking about. So I then have to ask him details. So tell me, who is this character and what does it mean? He goes, hang on a minute, you better sit down. He's so excited. Can you imagine if he was dating a grumpy Nomsa? He'll be like telling me, and I'm like, hey, leave me alone. And it brings a rejection and a disappointment in somebody when they love someone. So just share your fun things with your lover. It's very, very important. I've learned that the hard way. You know, when you meditate, I don't know if anyone meditates here, Kamau or Carol Ann or Dr. Biggett. When you meditate, you connect with your inner child more, and you become more loving inside, and you become more loving, and you share that love outside as well. And you guys know that you guys are my family at Ngozi Talk Shows. I do not allow anyone to tell anybody off at Ngozi Talk Shows. So they all know that we share love. And if somebody is not happy, they can share their unhappiness, and then we deal with it and we move on. So that's how we work at Ngozi Talk Shows. We are not perfect. But if you are in a relationship and you're looking to actually find your own voice in that relationship, these coaches, they are here. They have free consultation. Sometimes you don't have to pay them. You could actually go to Dr. Biggett, 30 minutes, and go to Kamau for 30 minutes, go to Nomsa for 30 minutes, and go to Carol Ann for 30 minutes. And now you have like 4 coaches that you have spoken to. And then by the end of it, you decide which one you want to work with, because 30 minutes is free consultation. And then just find your own voice. Maybe within that 30 minutes, you find a solution that you're stuck with. Who knows? It's Valentine's Day today. And also, I'm just going to share with you that Valentine's Day doesn't have to be 14th of December. Let it be from 1st of January to the 31st of December, the whole year. Over to you, Carol Ann.
Yay!
We're the 14th of February.
February. That's right. 14th of February. And something that you were saying, Nomsa, really rang true there and touched a chord in as much as you're willing to listen to what your partner wants to share about. You don't know anything about it, but you're showing an interest.
Yeah.
They want to share something. They're excited. And that's something that is important, because I know for me, there were things I wanted. I was always interested in what my ex-husband was doing, showed an interest, was always took part in some of it, or if they had big gatherings of that particular club they belonged to, or outings, I would go along. I was always supportive and listening, and it never came back. And things that I wanted to talk about, it wasn't interested in, wouldn't listen to, didn't ask questions about, and so I shut up. And that's where you then tend to go into yourself, and you forget yourself, because you think, well, there's no point talking because nobody's listening, nobody's interested. And so you start setting up these beliefs, but maybe they're feeding a belief that you already had, that nobody's interested, that comes from childhood. So again, it's worth exploring that angle as well. As has been said, go to have a session with somebody, because they can actually talk you through and get to the root of that, and then just heal that part, because then you just never know what can shift and change. But it is, as Kamal was saying, it's about communication, and it's being able to communicate in a way that there is understanding. But you've got to know yourself, what it is you want, and and what's not working for yourself, and speak up. But communicate, sit down, be willing to have a conversation. And again, this comes back to being willing to listen to what the other person is saying, but not take it personally. And I think sometimes that can be the detriment here. You take it personally, so it then becomes an argument, or you start, shout at them, and you don't want to listen because you feel got at, you feel threatened. Just listen. What is it they're actually saying? And be willing to just discuss, but also know that it is healthy to have an argument. It's okay to disagree with somebody. This is something I realized
when it's necessary, Kira.
When it's necessary, yeah, it's okay. You have a point of view. It's okay to disagree. But I realized that I'd been told not to argue, and stop arguing with me, and it's like, but I wanted to have a discussion. I have a point of view here that is different to yours. Why are you saying I'm arguing, and making it wrong, and just not being willing to even talk about it or chew it over? And so it was made to feel wrong. It isn't wrong. What becomes unhealthy is when you get to such an angry point that communication then stops. If you disagree and you're arguing and you can't, come to a point of agreement, or just walk away for a bit, just let the dust settle, and then be willing to go back and actually discuss it and say, well, look, this is what was happening for me. This is what I think, and this is what I hear your point of view was. And I choose, and I'm disagreeing with you, and I hear you're disagreeing with me. And be okay with that disagreeing. But, be willing to understand the other person, but also be willing to understand yourself and stand up for yourself. And this is part of the growing, because as you were saying, Kamal, love is growth. And it isn't just, as you say, growing old or growing in other ways. It's growing yourself as a person, getting to know yourself, growing that relationship such that it embraces every aspect of who you are and who you're not, what's not working for you and what is working for you, and being able to talk about it and have those dreams, those aspirations. And when when it's not working, when it's not happening, be a demand for them, or sit and discuss and say, well, how can I make this dream come true? And if the other person isn't on board with your dream, does it matter? Really? Could you not just have a bit of time out and explore your dream? Does that threaten the relationship? Because if it does, then there's not true love there. That relationship isn't strong enough to support either of you in growing. And sometimes what can happen if one is growing more than the other, it can fall apart. And the fear is from the other person, they'll hold them back because it's like, oh, you're leaving me, you're going to leave me. But if you've got that fear running there, again, that becomes, there's that codependency. You have to be able to let somebody have freedom to go and do what they love to do, but be interested and really know whether there's that deep core of love between you. And are you meant to continue on together or not? Because if you are, you will find a way. True love finds a way. It just does. It's so powerful. And if you stand in that there is true love here, and that you're a stand for it, you demand it. And it's like, how can we have that full expression of love here? And be open to all different ways of actually that relationship thriving. It's not just about it plodding along and living. It's about it thriving and growing. Because the more you grow, and you grow together in different ways, there's something magical can happen. There's something, I read a quote this morning by Melody Beattie. I used to spend so much time reacting and responding to everyone else that my life had no direction. Other people's lives, problems, and wants set the course for my life. Once I realized it was okay for me to think about and identify what I wanted, remarkable things began to take place in my life. That's where the magic is. And recognize where there's fear. Because where there's fear, there is no love. Dr. Brigitte.
I love that. I love that when there is fear, there is no love. And yes, it is very true that it takes two to tango. Sometimes in this day and age as well, many times we have because of multiple things, we're trained to look out, particularly here in general, but in the United States, seemingly it was like, what's the other person doing? And it's all about the other persons, and that's why certain type of lawyers are thriving here nowadays. And how can we find something wrong with that one and sue them, right? Nothing against attorney. I have many clients who are attorneys, and I love attorneys, but sometimes we look outside, but also like with everything else, it takes two to tango. And so we also want to be aware where our contribution in there, like Caroline says, perhaps you believe somewhere deep in your heart, and perhaps it's subconsciously, many times it's subconsciously, that you don't deserve this. Nobody, you have a running belief, nobody hears you. And please don't take me wrong, it's not your fault, so to say, because many times people have things going on and then feel it's their fault. It's not to blame you either, but it may be something has conditioned you as you grow up, a trauma or a wound that you have buried. And in that scenario, if you find yourself in any situations that is not the way that comfortable for you, and yes, you might want to be helping somebody, you want to be protecting your children or to be able to survive, but nowadays there are so much help. If you find yourself being traumatized, being hurt in the past, or are hurting now, whether you are in a relationship that is hurting you, or you're hurting because you finally out of a relationship and now you feel alone, then there are help. I might actually have an event this weekend. As a grief specialist, I have an event this weekend where we help you heal your heart. And we know that, as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, when you heal your heart, you heal your mind. And when you are able to heal your mind and heart by healing your heart, then you will heal your result. You will heal your relationships. You will heal your money. You will heal many other things in your life that you want to improve. So I'll put the post up shortly, Numsa, and everyone's for anyone who want to allow their heart to be healed. And this is Dr. Burjit, and I will need to step out now. But it's been an honor and a delight to be with you today. And please share your thoughts, your feedback in here with us. We're here for you today. And as Numsa says, the rest of the year as well.
Thanks, Dr. Birgit. You know that quote that you were saying, Carol, and it reminded me of a quote that Charlie Chaplin said once. And he was talking about self-love. And the quote was, as I began to love myself, I found that my anguish and emotional suffering were only warning signs that I was living against my own truth. And it's very similar to what you're saying, probably a little bit just condensed. And when you were saying that quote of yours, it's a beautiful one. I remember this one, and I realized that these warning signs, we see them from the very, very start of a relationship. We don't have to wait a year or two after that love fades away, or as they call the what's it called, the love bracket, or well, you know, that bracket of 2-3 years, the first 3 years where you're all, it's a honeymoon phase, I think they call it. Yes. Warning signs are there from the very start. Nomsa was talking about our partner, and he's playing a game and he's interested in that. Show interest. Yes, of course, show interest. I mean, I can't be with a partner that doesn't like my Lego, that doesn't like the fact that I go play PlayStation and that I play on my computer and that that I'm a nerd and a geek at the same time. That doesn't work. It creates these clashes from the very start. It's suppressed feelings and emotions that you have in the beginning. Nomsa was talking about having children, and when she dropped off, I said, no, don't have children. I say don't have children if you don't want to have children and the person that you're with wants to have children. Don't sacrifice your own self to please somebody else. Having children, and I'm going to say it because we're parents and a lot of parents are out there, but having children is an extremely selfish act. There's nothing wrong with that. It's good. It's beautiful to have children for yourself. If you're doing it for somebody else, it becomes dangerous. You lose your power. You lose your respect.
I've got to have kids come out because that's what the ladies say. I've got to have kids because I'm running out of time, you know.
No, there are many women now who don't want to have kids. What I'm talking about here is that having kids is a massive responsibility.
Yes, that's true.
And it's something that you need to consider as a couple, if you together want to have children or not. If one of you has a disease, an inherited disease that can be given to your children, are you willing to sacrifice the pain and the suffering of your child because that person has an immune disease or a sickness that is very dangerous? What would you rather have? So I love my children to bits, and I would not change a thing in the world about it. And I always ask my clients, and I always ask people that say, oh, I want to have children. I always ask them that question. Why do you want to have children? If you can answer me in an unselfish way, go ahead. I'm not denying you the right to do it. Having children is a massive responsibility beyond any understanding. If you're not mentally stable, if you're not healthy enough, if you are not in the right relationship, especially relationship, there's no point having children, because having children will not fix that relationship. These are one of the early signs that you have in the very start, even in that honeymoon phase. There are signs of that codependency. There are signs of disagreement in matters of boundaries, of rules, of ethical meanings. There are signs of dislikes. So don't, and I say it this way, do not hide away from these warning signs. Do not shy away from these red flags, because these red flags will cause you to be in an unhealthy relationship. Most probably, you'll end up in a codependent relationship, even if it's for partial time. Most likely, you'll end up in a narcissistic relationship. Most likely, if you have these things, you will end up in a relationship that is untrue and that is not satisfying. Love is about loving yourself first and feeling at ease with yourself. It's being able to walk through the door and feeling the relief of all the troubles that you have outside of that home drop. Love is about seeing that person that you're with, or that your children, or whoever it is that you love, to know that this is the best day of my life. Love is about looking somebody in the eyes, not saying a word, being able to understand them. Love is about a touch. Love is about a cuddle, a kiss, a smile. It's about a tear that you wipe off the face of your partner. Love is about compassion and understanding. And we all express our love in many different ways. And if you are in a relationship where you feel angst, where you feel like you're walking on eggshells, where you feel your emotions, your thoughts, your ideas, your likes and dislikes are not taken into consideration, you are in an unhealthy relationship. So grow for yourself and love yourself. Nomsa?
Love yourself. I love that, Kamal, and meditate more as well. Yes, having children, I agree with Kamal, is a big responsibility, and no one, you can freeze your eggs and then have your children whenever you want, but some people end up like you see a 25 or 26-year-old, they're telling you that they're running out of time. I'm like, when I was your age, all I wanted was to get skills to be better. I didn't think about having children or think that the time is running out. I had my daughter when I was 28. So I'm like, you still have time. Why rushing having kids instead of enjoying time? And also getting married just for the sake of putting a ring on it. There are some people that they see their friends, they want to live the life that their friends have. They want to get married. And when they get home to their spouses, like, when are we getting married? And then it becomes a big argument. It's even when you're getting married, it's no longer fun anymore, because it's not a decision that has been made by two people. It's just, marry me. I want to get married. I want you to put a ring on it. But when you meet someone, If that person, you have a discussion, do you want to get married one day? When you find the right person, if that person says, yes, I want to get married one day. So why worry if that person wants to get married? But some people, they do change because the people grow, or they get scared. They think this is not what I wanted. When you find yourself in that situation, don't pressure the other person. For me, I'm a relationship coach. I'm a matchmaker. When my spouse goes into that mood of on his own, you know what men do? I just leave him alone. I focus on me, I focus on prayer until he goes, hey, okay. I'm like, hey, okay. So you can't keep nagging somebody. You just have to love someone and leave them alone and let them deal with whatever they're dealing with, and have that life, that knowing that you're growing with that person. And if children happen, embrace it. When you have kids, learn to have fun as well. We're so serious. We take life too serious. Like, we have to put the man away for the kids. We have to go. Sometimes the couples don't even go on holiday anymore. They put the money for the kids away, so when they're 16, they can enjoy that money, and then they become miserable. For me, I enjoy my money. I send the kids to work. Acting, they get paid good money. You put money into their trust fund, and they work for themselves. When they are older, 16, they get their money. So do that. They are good agencies. If your kids are able, have the abilities, instead of just putting pressure on your relationship, find ways that can work for you and your spouse, so you can raise your children in a happy environment. And for me, I try to actually to look at myself with the things when I'm making decisions. If it was me, or what pressure is he giving to us? I don't like pressure. During lockdown, there was pressure, there was worry. And I said to to everyone, we are downsizing. And everyone was like, don't agree. I was like, don't have a choice. We're downsizing. We don't need. So I started actually asking them to look at the space, what they were using, what they didn't use. In the end, they didn't agree, but it had to happen because I didn't want no stress, or somebody to have a stress that is not necessary. Or sometimes myself, I'll just go and disappear in the other room. When you have a bigger house, you disappear, you don't spend time with each other. And now they are complaining, but actually they are happy. So just find ways to actually adjust into life, and find that playfulness as well. We're talking about it yesterday, and just be happy. And life is not all about getting married, having kids, and neglecting your needs. Put your needs first. When you put your needs, and when you tap into your playfulness, then you'll be happy because you're happy within. And also, if you don't know how to create the habits of all these things, that's why Ngozi Talk Show exists. And there are other coaches out there who can help you to actually live a happy life. It only takes one decision to actually make that choice, and just work on yourself, and live a happy life, a fulfilling life. And Carol Ann, please, would you like to tell our audience where they can find you, and who you are, and words of encouragement, please, before we leave?
Yes, certainly. You can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn. I also have a Facebook group called Get Your Book Written, because as a writing facilitator, what I do is I support women in becoming more productive with their writing. And it is that healing journey that they experience through writing, through unlocking the writer within, writing out the story, and just helps them to become knowing themselves more. It's that self-discovery that you have through writing, which is something I'm rewording it all at the moment, because it's like I'm discovering for myself really what it is I do. But it is that unlocking the writer within. It's that healing journey. And so loving yourself, it is, and it's being able to put all that past to rest so that you can move forward into healthy relationships, into a more healthier life than you had before. So what I'd just like to leave people with is a quote by Ernest Hemingway, which is, the most painful thing is losing yourself in the process of loving someone too much and forgetting that you are special too. Kamal, is there anything you'd just like to leave people with?
This sums it all up. It's a beautiful quote. It's absolutely spot on. But everybody watching, happy Valentine's once more. You can find me on most of the social media. You'll find me on Facebook. You find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. My website is kamalehmet.com, and I am a life purpose coach. I'm also a psychologist, but I specialize in coaching people to uncover their purpose. And what we do is, with the aid of NLP exercises, so neuro-linguistic programming, and ancient Egyptian methodologies, I help you uncover the road to your purpose. We create a working protocol, a life purpose protocol for you to live. And after that foundation is done, it's a course of 14 weeks where you take the reins from there on. And it does include NLP, as I said. It does include ancient Egyptian methodology, because the ancient Egyptians were one of the first people that lived a purposeful life. And my aim is to help as many people as possible understand that their life from 9 to 5, that job that they have, or that hamster wheel that they're living in, is not necessarily the thing that they have to do. It is something that they want to do if it is their choice. So yeah, that's what I do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kamal and Carol Ann. Hopefully our audience, they've enjoyed and they're going to put everything into practice. And for me, I am your love harmonist. It's Valentine's Day today. If you are alone and you have a job, but unfortunately, I don't work. My agency does not accept people who are not working due to some reasons. I just like to work with people that have goals, who know where they want to be. But if you are not working for some reason because you've been laid off, you qualify for my agency. You can come and join. And I accept that, because we did get laid off from our work, like Google. How many people has Google let people go? I think it's going to go up to 10,000 the way I see it. So if you don't have a job, but you've been laid off, just get in touch with our agency and find love. If you've been rejected and you've been hurt, that's what these coaches are for. They coach you before you go on a date. And live with grace, everyone. Enjoy the rest of Valentine's Day. Make sure the cake, whatever you're eating, the pudding goes inside, not somebody's face. It can go to somebody's face when you're playing, being playful, but not fighting. Today is the day of love. Live with grace, everyone.